My name is Alex, and for most of my life I was just an ordinary guy in a not-so-ordinary place, a quiet, forgotten corner of rural Nevada, far from the dazzling lights of Vegas, but close enough to, well, let's just say a lot of empty space. My days usually involved managing a small, dusty hardware store, and my nights? My nights were spent under the vast, inky black canvas of the desert sky. A place where the stars don't just twinkle, they blaze with an ancient, silent intensity. I wasn't a professional astronomer, not with a fancy degree or observatory. I was an enthusiast, a stargazer with a decent amateur telescope and a burning curiosity that refused to be satisfied by terrestrial matters. I knew that constellations, like old friends, could name nebulae and galaxies as easily as I could the tools in my store. It was my escape, my meditation, my personal connection to something immeasurably larger than myself. That all changed on a crisp autumn evening, a night like any other, so I thought. I had my 10-inch Dobsonian pointed toward a particularly beautiful patch of the Perseus constellation, enjoying the faint glimmer of a distant star cluster. I was also running my old, slightly modified radio receiver. Just a hobby, really, trying to pick up distant atmospheric phenomena, or maybe some amateur radio chatter from across the globe. Never anything truly exciting. Until that night, suddenly the familiar static in my headphones changed. It wasn't a crackle or a hiss. It was a rhythmic, almost melodic pulse. It was faint at first, barely discernible from the background noise, but it was there, distinct, unlike anything I had ever heard before. It wasn't natural. It wasn't man-made. It felt deliberate. I froze, my hand hovering over the receiver's tuning knob. My heart started to pound, a slow, heavy drum against my ribs. This wasn't a stray signal, not a radio anomaly. It had a pattern, a sequence. It was like listening to a heartbeat, but a heartbeat from an entity I couldn't comprehend, reaching out across unimaginable distances. The desert night, usually so comforting, suddenly felt vast and intensely lonely. I was alone with this sound, and it felt like it was speaking directly to me. I spent hours that night trying to isolate it, to record it. My hands were shaking, a mixture of excitement and a primal, undefined fear. Every fiber of my being screamed that this was it, the moment humanity had dreamed of, feared, and theorized about for centuries. Contact. But it wasn't a booming declaration. It was a whisper from beyond the veil. And it chose me, a humble hardware store owner from rural Nevada, to hear it first. The signal was complex, almost musical in its structure, but with an underlying mathematical precision that made my amateur attempts at analysis feel painfully inadequate. I knew, with an absolute certainty, that this wasn't some random cosmic noise. This was a message, and it was just the beginning. My quiet nights under the stars were about to become anything but quiet. I had stumbled upon something monumental, something that would tear apart the fabric of my reality and plunge me into a world of secrets, shadows, and a truth far stranger than fiction. Little did I know, merely hearing this signal had already painted a target on my back. The days that followed my discovery were a blur of adrenaline and obsessive research. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. My small home observatory, usually a serene escape, transformed into a frantic command center. I spent every waking moment trying to decode the signal, cross-referencing patterns, frequencies, and anything that might give me a clue. I scoured every online forum, every scientific paper, looking for similar anomalies, but found nothing. It was unique, pristine, and undeniably alien. My daily life working at the hardware store felt surreal. Customers talked about leaky faucets and chipped paint, completely oblivious to the cosmic symphony I now carried in my mind. I'd nod, smile, and offer advice, all while my thoughts raced, consumed by the pulsating message from light years away. I felt like I was living two separate lives, one mundane, one impossibly grand. I started documenting everything, every frequency shift, every rhythmic variation, every failed attempt at translation. I knew I couldn't go public with this yet, not until I had something more concrete. The sheer implications of what I had found were too massive. I pictured the headlines, the global panic, the scientific frenzy. I needed to be sure. More importantly, I needed to protect myself. It was a week after the initial contact when the first subtle signs appeared. My internet connection, usually slow but reliable, started acting erratically. My old laptop, which had served me faithfully for years, began freezing at odd moments, displaying strange error codes I couldn't explain. At first I dismissed it as old hardware, maybe a virus. But then I noticed little things. My usual stargazing spots in the desert, always empty, occasionally had unfamiliar vehicles parked on distant ridges. Sometimes late at night, I'd see faint, unidentifiable lights in the sky that weren't stars, aren't planes, and certainly weren't my imagination. They moved with an unsettling fluidity, then vanished without a trace. I started getting the chilling sensation of being watched, not by the benign eyes of the universe, but by something much closer, much more terrestrial, and far more menacing. One evening, while trying to access a secure online astronomy database, my screen flickered. For a split second, an unfamiliar symbol flashed across the display, a stylized, geometric pattern that looked vaguely like an eye with a star in the center. Then it was gone, replaced by the familiar login screen. My heart hammered. This wasn't a glitch. This was a warning. Someone knew. Someone was monitoring me. The Starlight Protocol, as I'd come to call it in my head, was more than just a signal. It was a catalyst. It hadn't just reached out to me, it had awakened something else. Something that had been dormant, hidden in the shadows, waiting. And now, I was in their sights. The desert night, once my sanctuary, now felt like an exposed stage, and I was the unwitting star of a play I hadn't auditioned for. The truth was out there, yes, but it seemed the truth also had its guardians, and they didn't appreciate uninvited guests.
The subtle intrusions quickly escalated. My phone developed an unnerving habit of disconnecting calls mid-sentence, not with a static burst, but a clean, silent click. Emails I knew I'd sent would vanish from my outbox. My normally private little world was being systematically compromised, brick by brick. The sense of unease solidified into cold dread. One sweltering afternoon, as I was locking up the hardware store, a black, nondescript sedan, the kind you see in every government thriller, pulled up across the street. It was too clean for the dusty Nevada roads, too perfectly parked. The windows were tinted opaque, reflecting the desert sun like dark mirrors. It just sat there, watching. No one got out. After about 20 minutes, it simply drove away, leaving behind only a faint shimmer in the heat haze and a knot of ice in my stomach. That night, unable to shake the feeling of being observed, I decided to pack some of my most critical research, the raw audio files of the signal, my initial deciphering attempts, and my growing collection of notes onto an encrypted flash drive. I buried it deep in my backyard, under an old Joshua tree, a desperate act of preservation. If anything happened to me, someone someday might find it. It was just past midnight when I heard the faint click of my back door. My heart leaped into my throat. I hadn't locked it. A rookie mistake, born of exhaustion and a lifetime of living in a place where such precautions felt unnecessary. I grabbed the heavy flashlight I kept by my bed, my only weapon, and silently crept down the hallway. The kitchen light was on. Standing by my makeshift control center, my telescope, radio, and scattered papers, was a man. He was tall, dressed in a dark suit despite the late hour, and utterly devoid of expression. His presence was so quiet, so unnerving. It was as if he hadn't walked in but simply manifested. He held a small, black device in his hand, scanning my equipment. Mr. Peterson. His voice was a flat monotone, devoid of inflection. "We need to talk." I tightened my grip on the flashlight. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" He turned, and in the dim light, his eyes were cold, calculating. "We've been monitoring your unauthorized activities. Your, hobby, as you call it, has brought you to the attention of certain parties who prefer to remain discreet." He gestured vaguely at my radio receiver. "That signal. It's not for public consumption, or for private consumption for that matter." My mind raced. "You mean the government? Area 51? What do you want?" A faint, almost imperceptible smirk touched his lips. "Government is a broad term, Mr. Peterson. Let's just say we represent a coalition of interests that have maintained a certain protocol for a very long time. The Starlight Protocol, as you've so quaintly named it." He paused, letting the implication hang in the air. "We're here to ensure that protocol remains unbroken." My blood ran cold. This wasn't some rogue agency. This was an established, well-oiled machine. They knew my name for the signal. They weren't just observing. They were deeply embedded, silently protecting a secret so profound it necessitated this level of intrusion. The whispers from space weren't just a discovery. They were a violation of a long-standing, terrifying agreement. And I, Alex Peterson, had just walked right into the middle of it. The man, who introduced himself only as Agent Thorne, exuded an unnerving calm. He wasn't aggressive, not overtly, but his presence filled the room with a silent, heavy authority. He moved with a practiced efficiency, carefully examining my notes, my audio recordings, every scrap of information related to the signal. He didn't confiscate anything. He merely absorbed it, as if cataloging it in some internal database. "Mr. Peterson," he began again, his voice still flat, "you've made an extraordinary discovery, one that, frankly, few outside our coalition are ever meant to know about. We understand your fascination." He held up one of my hand-drawn diagrams, a complex mapping of frequency modulations. "You're good, exceptionally good for an amateur." His compliment felt less like praise and more like a prelude to something terrible. "What is it you want?" I asked, my voice a bit hoarse. The flashlight felt heavy in my sweaty palm. Thorne set down the diagram. "We want you to cease your investigations, completely. Erase all your data, dismantle your equipment, and forget you ever heard that signal." He paused, letting his words sink in. "In return, we can offer you a comfortable life, a substantial sum of money, a new identity if you wish, relocation to anywhere you desire, a fresh start, free from any further complications." It was an offer designed to appeal to every survival instinct, every desire for peace. But beneath the veneer of generosity lay an unspoken promise of what would happen if I refused. The implication hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Complications meant disappearances, silenced voices, erased lives. "What if I don't?" I challenged, though my heart was pounding a frantic rhythm. "What if I believe people have a right to know?" Thorne's expression remained impassive, but his gaze sharpened, boring into mine. "Mr. Peterson, the truth in this instance is a luxury humanity cannot afford. There are balances at play, agreements in place. The signal you intercepted is a rare anomaly, a breach. Our priority is to contain the breach, not to expose the world to what it represents." "What does it represent?" I pressed, ignoring the churning fear in my gut. "Are they hostile? Are they here?" He took a step closer, his voice dropping to a low, almost conspiratorial tone. "They are observers, and they have been for a very long time. The signal you heard wasn't a friendly hello, Alex. It was a distress call, a warning, and its contents, if widely understood, would shatter global stability and usher in an era of chaos that would make any known conflict seem like a playground squabble." He was clearly trying to scare me, to impress upon me the gravity of the situation. But the words also stoked the fire of my curiosity. A distress call? A warning? From whom? And about what? The mystery deepened, became infinitely more terrifying and compelling. Thorne then pulled a sleek silver tablet from his inner jacket pocket. He tapped a few times and the screen lit up, displaying a series of images. They were blurry, distant but unmistakably authentic. Satellites in orbit, yes, but not ours. Anomalous objects moving at impossible speeds. And then a fleeting image of something massive, metallic and utterly alien, partially submerged beneath the ocean. A colossal structure hidden from the world. "This is just a glimpse of what's already here, Mr. Peterson," Thorne said, his voice regaining its monotone. "And what's coming? We don't control it. We merely manage the fallout. And you, inadvertently, have threatened that delicate management." He wasn't asking. He was telling me. The offer was a courtesy, a final chance before they moved to less polite methods. I looked at the images, then back at his unreadable face. My quiet life was irrevocably over. But the thought of just walking away, knowing what I now knew, felt like a betrayal not just of humanity, but of the very cosmos that had whispered its secrets to me. The Starlight Protocol wasn't just a government secret. It was a cage, and I had just rattled its bars.
Thorne watched me, patiently, like a predator sizing up its prey. He knew the weight of his offer, the unspoken ultimatum hanging heavy in the air. But something in me, that same insatiable curiosity that drew me to the stars, refused to buckle. The images on his tablet, especially that gargantuan structure beneath the waves, cemented my resolve. This wasn't just about a signal. It was about an entire hidden reality. "I need to understand," I finally said, my voice low but firm. "If it's a distress call, a warning, from whom? And what are they warning us about?" Thorne's expression didn't change, but a subtle tension flickered around his eyes. "That information is beyond your clearance, Mr. Peterson, and it will remain so. Your choice is simple. Walk away and live a long, comfortable, ignorant life, or persist and face consequences you cannot possibly fathom." He then did something unexpected. He pulled out a small black device, similar to the one he used to scan my equipment earlier, and aimed it at my radio receiver. A faint, high-pitched hum filled the room, almost imperceptible. "This device," he explained, "will scramble any further attempts to receive or decode the Starlight Protocol signal within a 10-mile radius. Consider it a permanent off switch for your little hobby." My heart sank. My direct connection to the stars severed. My access to the truth blocked. He wasn't just threatening me. He was cutting off my lifeline to the discovery. But even as the hum filled the room, a defiant spark ignited within me. "You can't erase knowledge," I countered, trying to sound braver than I felt. Thorne allowed a brief, almost pitying smile. "We can manage its dissemination, Mr. Peterson, and we are very, very good at it." He pocketed the device. "Think about our offer. We'll be in touch." With that, he turned, and just as silently as he'd arrived, he departed through the back door. I heard the soft click as it closed, and then the distant sound of his car driving away. The house, usually comforting in its solitude, now felt utterly empty, haunted by his presence. I rushed back to my radio receiver, frantically fiddling with the dials. Nothing, just static. The clear rhythmic pulse was gone, replaced by an oppressive silence. They had done it. They had shut down my cosmic window. For days, I was a wreck. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The images Thorne had shown me, combined with the chilling implication of a global cover-up, spun endlessly in my mind. That distress call, what was so catastrophic about it that an entire shadowy alliance would go to such lengths to suppress it? Then, one night, unable to sleep, I started reviewing my buried flash drive. I went over my notes, my failed decoding attempts. I remembered a strange anomaly in the signal. A very brief, almost subliminal burst of data embedded within the primary transmission. It was so fast, so complex, I had dismissed it as noise. But now, with Thorne's words echoing in my ears, I wondered. Using a custom-built spectral analysis program I'd tinkered with for years, I isolated that tiny, fleeting burst.
It took hours of painstaking work staring at flickering waveforms, and then there it was. Not a message, not a sound. It was an image, a single frame, impossibly complex, almost fractal in its detail. It depicted a planetary system, and within that system, a colossal dark entity. Not a ship, not a structure, but something alive, organic, yet utterly monstrous. It was draining the energy from a gas giant, its tendrils extending into the planet's core like grotesque veins. Around it, smaller, sleeker ships. The same design as the ones Thorne had shown me, the observers were desperately trying to fend it off, firing what looked like energy weapons, but they were futile. The dark entity was absorbing everything, growing, its form shifting and expanding with each stolen breath of energy. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a warning about an alien race. It was a warning from an alien race about a terrifying cosmic predator. The signal wasn't just a breach, it was a desperate cry for help from the observers, trying to alert anyone, us, to a threat that could devour entire worlds. And the Starlight Protocol wasn't just about hiding aliens. It was about hiding this thing. This was the true terror, the reason for the secrecy, the global conspiracy. And I had just witnessed a glimpse of it. The image burned into my mind, an infernal vision from beyond human comprehension. Thorne's words about shattering global stability and chaos now made terrifying sense. If humanity knew about that thing, panic would indeed consume the world. The observers weren't just watching us, they were fighting a war, a cosmic battle against a devourer of worlds, and their distress signal was a desperate plea to anyone who would listen. And now I was an unwilling recipient of that plea. My fear, oddly enough, began to transform into a strange resolve. Thorne and his coalition wanted to suppress this truth, but how could I, knowing what I knew, simply walk away? The thought of that monstrous entity, silently growing, moving through the cosmos, was a far greater threat than any shadowy government agency. I had to do something. But what? My equipment was jammed, my every move likely monitored. I spent the next few days in a fog, trying to process it all. I stopped going to the hardware store, claiming illness. My phone remained silent. I knew they were waiting for me to make a move, to accept their offer, but I couldn't. One evening, desperate for fresh air and a sense of normalcy, I drove out to my favorite stargazing spot, miles away from my house, a place I considered my sanctuary. The moon was a sliver, and the stars blazed with their usual indifferent splendor. As I set up my small, portable binoculars, I noticed a vehicle parked much further down the dirt track than usual. Not the black sedan this time, but an older, beat-up RV. I decided to ignore it. I just wanted to look at the stars, to remind myself of the beauty that still existed in the universe, even amidst the terrifying truths. As I gazed up, I heard footsteps approaching. My heart lurched. I braced myself, expecting Thorne or another agent. Instead, a woman emerged from the darkness. She was older, perhaps in her late 50s or early 60s, with a kind, weathered face and bright, intelligent eyes that sparkled even in the dim starlight. She wore practical hiking clothes and carried a well-used backpack. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" she said, her voice soft, with a slight, almost imperceptible accent I couldn't quite place. She stopped a respectful distance away. "You're Alex, aren't you? Alex Peterson? The amateur astronomer?" My guard immediately went up. "How do you know my name?" She smiled gently. "My name is Dr. Eris Thorne. And before you jump to conclusions, no, I'm not that Thorne. We share a last name, but our loyalties are vastly different. I'm a disillusioned former astrophysicist, and I've been watching you, Alex, because you've been watching something I've been trying to find for years." My mind reeled. "You know about the signal?" She nodded, her eyes fixed on the distant stars. More than you realize. I was part of the original Starlight Protocol project decades ago, before it became what it is now. Before it became a cage. She paused, then her eyes returned to me, serious and intense. You received the distress call, the one embedded in the primary transmission, the image of the Devourer. I stared at her speechless. She knew everything. They shut down my equipment, I said, a flicker of hope amidst the despair. I know, but they can't cut off everything, and they can't shut down what's already out there. I believe you're meant to receive this, Alex. We've been waiting for someone like you, someone with the raw talent and the courage to look beyond the veil, and more importantly, someone they haven't completely corrupted yet. Then she did something truly remarkable. From her backpack, she pulled out a small, incredibly advanced-looking device, a handheld holographic projector. She activated it, and in the space between us, a shimmering three-dimensional projection appeared. It was a rotating star map, impossibly detailed, but with one section highlighted, a planetary system. And within that system, a series of coordinates. This, she explained, her voice quiet but firm, is where you need to go. It's a risk, Alex, a massive one. But it's the only way to truly understand the Starlight Protocol and to find what the observers want us to find, before it's too late for all of us. My heart pounded with a renewed sense of purpose mixed with a healthy dose of fear. I had found an ally, and she was offering me a path not to escape, but to confront the very heart of the cosmic.
Dr. Thorne, or just Eris, as she insisted, explained that the coordinates pointed to a specific location in the remote Nevada desert, deep within an area long rumored to be a hotbed of UFO activity, but notoriously difficult to access. She described it as an ancient site, a natural energy nexus that the observers had been using as a silent beacon, a fallback communication point for millennia. She believed the embedded image of the Devourer was a final, desperate burst of data intended for this specific site, hoping it would be received and understood. The Starlight Protocol wasn't always about suppression, Eris explained, her eyes scanning the horizon. Initially, it was about study, about understanding the signals. But as the true nature of the Devourer became apparent and the scale of the Observer's War was understood, a faction within the coalition decided that ignorance was humanity's only defense. They believed that exposing the truth would cause panic and collapse, making us easy prey. Her words resonated with a terrifying logic. The threat was so immense, so existential, that hiding it became a twisted form of protection. But what if hiding it simply ensured our destruction? So, what do we do? I asked, my voice barely a whisper against the vastness of the desert. We go there, Eris stated firmly, gesturing towards the direction of the coordinates. We access the original receiver technology, the one they haven't been able to jam, the one that was built by the observers themselves, long before humanity even dreamt of radio. It's the only way to get the full, uncorrupted message, the complete warning. The journey began at dawn. Eris's beat-up RV became our mobile command center, though command center was a generous term for the cramped space filled with aging scientific equipment, maps, and an impressive collection of conspiracy theory books. We drove for hours, leaving paved roads behind, navigating through increasingly rugged terrain. The landscape transformed from sparse desert plains to a labyrinth of towering red rock formations and deep, winding canyons. I learned more about Eris during that drive. She had been ostracized from the scientific community after questioning the official narrative of the Starlight Protocol. She lost her funding, her career, everything. But she never lost her conviction. She believed the observers weren't hostile, that they were a besieged species trying to warn a nascent civilization, us, about a shared cosmic enemy.
As we ventured deeper, the strange occurrences began again. Our compass spun wildly. Our GPS flickered, displaying impossible coordinates. At one point, the RV's engine sputtered and died without warning, only to miraculously restart a few minutes later, leaving us stranded in an unnerving silence. The air itself seemed to crackle with an unseen energy, raising the hairs on my arms. We finally reached a point where the RV could go no further. Before us lay a vast, desolate canyon, its walls carved from millennia of wind and water. It felt ancient, sacred, and eerily quiet. "This is it," Aris announced, pointing towards a faint, almost invisible opening nestled within the canyon wall, the entrance to the receiver site, the place where the Starlight Protocol truly began. We hiked for another hour, the canyon walls rising steeply around us, blocking out the last rays of the setting sun. The shadows lengthened, creating grotesque, shifting forms. I felt a profound sense of isolation, as if we had stepped off the map, out of time itself. The air grew colder, and a faint, almost imperceptible hum started to vibrate through the ground, growing stronger with every step. As we neared the entrance, I noticed something else. The rock formations weren't entirely natural. There were subtle geometric patterns carved into the stone, almost perfectly camouflaged, almost as if they were designed to be overlooked. They were ancient, alien, and breathtaking. We stood before the entrance, a dark, narrow fissure in the rock. From within, the hum was now unmistakable, a low, resonant thrumming that seemed to vibrate in my very bones. This was it, the heart of the mystery, the place where humanity's fate might truly be decided. And I, Alex Peterson, a simple stargazer, was about to step inside. Stepping into the fissure was like entering another world. The hum grew louder, resonating through the very air, vibrating in my chest. The passage was narrow at first, dark and cool, smelling faintly of ozone and ancient stone. Aris led the way, her flashlight beam cutting through the oppressive darkness, revealing walls that were unnervingly smooth, not naturally carved, but perfectly polished, like glass. After a few minutes of walking, the passage widened dramatically, opening into a colossal cavern. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't just a cavern, it was an enormous subterranean chamber, clearly not of natural origin. The ceiling soared hundreds of feet above, disappearing into shadow, studded with what looked like clusters of glowing crystalline formations that pulsed with a soft blue-green light, illuminating the space with an otherworldly glow. In the center of the chamber stood an incredible structure. It was massive, perhaps 50 feet tall, made of a dark, obsidian-like material that seemed to absorb and reflect the ambient light simultaneously. Its form was elegant and complex, a blend of organic curves and sharp geometric angles, unlike anything I had ever seen. It emanated the powerful hum, the source of the vibration. This was it, the ancient receiver. Around the base of the structure were smaller, intricate consoles, seemingly grown from the same dark material. They had no visible buttons or screens, just smooth, glowing surfaces. This was the observer's technology, ancient and alien, untouched by human hands for millennia. "This is incredible," I whispered, my voice echoing in the vast space. Aris nodded, her eyes wide with reverence. "It is a testament to their presence, Alex, to their patience. They've been here, watching, waiting for us to evolve to a point where we could finally understand their warning." She walked towards one of the consoles, her fingers gently brushing its surface. The Starlight Protocol was founded on this technology, but our governments only ever learned to block signals, never truly to receive them in their purest form. She explained that the coalition had discovered this site decades ago, but their attempts to understand and control its full capabilities had largely failed. They could tap into certain frequencies, enough to know about the Devourer and the Observer's war, but they couldn't fully comprehend the complex, multi-layered data streams. Their solution, as always, was to suppress what they couldn't control. Then Aris placed a small, portable device, far more sophisticated than anything I owned, onto a specific spot on the console. It hummed to life, connecting with the ancient technology.
She began to input a series of commands, her fingers moving with practiced precision over the glowing surface. Suddenly, the central structure began to change. The blue-green light intensified, swirling around the obsidian form. The hum deepened, becoming a resonant, almost sentient thrum. Then, from the structure, a shimmering, translucent wall of light projected outwards, forming a massive spherical display in the center of the chamber. And on that display, the image reappeared. The Devourer, only this time it wasn't a single fleeting frame. It was moving, a full holographic video showing the cosmic entity in horrific detail, consuming stars, devouring planets, growing ever larger. It was a spectacle of destruction on an unimaginable scale, an absolute force of cosmic entropy. My blood ran cold again, but this time it was mixed with a profound awe. The observers' ships, tiny specks of light, desperately fought against it, but they were being overwhelmed. The message was clear: this was an extinction-level event, a threat to all life in the galaxy. Then the visual shifted. The Devourer receded, replaced by a complex sequence of symbols, mathematical equations, and what looked like schematics for incredibly advanced technology. Eris, with a gasp, turned to me. "It's not just a warning, Alex. It's a solution, a desperate attempt to share their knowledge, their last hope. They're telling us how to fight it, how to build something that can fight it." My mind raced, struggling to comprehend the implications. The Starlight Protocol wasn't just hiding a threat, it was hiding the key to humanity's salvation, or at least our fighting chance. The Coalition feared chaos, but in their fear, they condemned us all. I looked at the shimmering schematics, the blueprints for an impossible future. The observers weren't just distant watchers, they were allies, reaching out across the void, offering us a chance. And now, armed with their truth, I knew my path was clear. I had to get this message out.
The holographic projections continued, displaying not only the devastating power of the Devourer, but also intricate blueprints for what Eris believed was a counterweapon, a defensive system of unimaginable scale. It was a fusion of unknown energy sources and advanced structural designs, clearly beyond anything currently conceived by human science. The observers weren't just showing us a problem, they were offering a potential answer, a desperate last hope from a dying civilization. "This is it, Alex," Eris said, her voice filled with a mix of awe and urgency. "This is why they fought so hard to keep this a secret. Not just the Devourer, but the knowledge itself. Imagine what this technology could do, even in human hands. It could change everything, not just against the Devourer, but for our own future." My mind spun with possibilities and with terrifying new fears. If the Coalition wanted to suppress the warning, they would absolutely obliterate any chance of this solution getting out. This wasn't just about truth anymore, it was about power, control, and the fate of two species. We worked feverishly trying to record and download as much of the data as possible onto Eris's encrypted devices. The ancient receiver, seemingly limitless in its power, poured torrents of information into our makeshift storage. Every second felt critical, a race against an unseen clock. Just as we thought we had captured the most vital schematics, a high-pitched, piercing alarm suddenly blared through the cavern. The blue-green crystalline lights above flickered wildly, and the ground vibrated not with the hum of the receiver, but with a new, jarring tremor. "They've found us, Eris!" grasped, her face paling. "Eris, they've found us!" Eris grasped, her face paling. "The jamming field! They must have been tracing anomalies around their own interference. It's too late. They're here." The entrance to the cavern, previously a dark fissure, was suddenly bathed in the blinding glare of powerful searchlights. Silhouetted figures, armed and dressed in tactical gear, appeared, moving with practiced military precision. Among them, unmistakable even from a distance, was Agent Thorne, his face grim, eyes narrowed. "Mr. Peterson, Dr. Thorne!" Thorne's voice boomed, amplified by a loudspeaker echoing off the ancient walls. "This unauthorized breach of the Starlight Protocol ends now. Surrender the data and yourselves. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." Panic surged through me, but Eris remained surprisingly calm. "They won't kill us immediately, Alex. They want the data, and they want to make sure no one else ever finds this place." She grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong. "We have to create a diversion. Get to the secondary exit. There's a small passage behind the main console, leads out to a higher ridge." "But the data," I stammered, looking at the precious information still downloading. "It's transferring as fast as it can," she insisted. "Whatever we get, we get. The important thing is to get ourselves out. They won't stop until they have us, or at least until they know the data is secure or destroyed." Thorne's team began to advance, their footsteps heavy and menacing against the stone floor. Laser sights from their rifles danced across the cavern walls, then settled on us. I could hear them shouting commands, their voices devoid of mercy. Eris quickly tapped a few more commands onto the ancient console. The holographic projection of the Devourer suddenly surged, becoming even more vivid, more terrifying, filling the entire chamber with its monstrous form, casting grotesque shadows. Then, with a deafening crackle, the central receiver pulsed with an immense surge of energy, sending a powerful electromagnetic pulse outwards. Lights flickered, comms went dead, and several of Thorne's men cried out as their advanced equipment short-circuited. It was a brilliant, desperate move, temporarily disabling their technology and buying us precious seconds. "Go, Alex, go!" Eris yelled, pushing me towards a barely visible crevice behind the colossal receiver. "I'll draw their fire. You have to get this out. The world needs to know." I hesitated, wanting to help her, but her conviction was absolute. "Don't be a fool. This isn't about us. It's about them." She pointed to the Devourer on the flickering holographic screen. "Go!" With a heavy heart, I squeezed into the narrow passage, scrambling upwards, the sounds of shouting, gunfire, and Eris's last defiant words echoing behind me. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The weight of the world and the secrets of the cosmos now rested squarely on my shoulders. I was alone again, but this time armed with the truth that could either save or destroy humanity. The Starlight Protocol was no longer a secret. It was a deadly race. I scrambled through the narrow, twisting passage, the sounds of the skirmish behind me fading into the thrumming silence of the ancient rock. My lungs burned, my muscles screamed, but the images of the Devourer and Eris's brave sacrifice fueled every desperate movement. The flash drive, containing the partial but critical blueprints and the terrifying truth, was clutched in my sweaty hand. After what felt like an eternity, I burst out onto a high, desolate ridge overlooking the vast Nevada desert. The first hint of dawn was painting the eastern horizon with streaks of purple and orange, a stark contrast to the darkness of the night and the secrets it held. Below, in the distance, I could see the flashing lights of vehicles converging on the canyon entrance. Thorne's forces were securing the site, silencing the truth once more. I was alone, exposed, and exhausted. But I wasn't defeated. Eris's words echoed in my mind. The world needs to know. I knew I couldn't go to the authorities. They were part of the coalition. I couldn't trust mainstream media. It would be too easy for them to discredit me, paint me as a lunatic. I needed to disseminate this information directly to as many people as possible before Thorne's people could hunt me down. My only option was the internet, the vast, unruly network of human connection. I found a hidden cave, just large enough to conceal myself, and pulled out my old, battered laptop. The battery was low, but I had enough power for one last crucial task. I connected to an old, public Wi-Fi signal from a distant, forgotten rest stop, a weak, unsecured link, but my only hope. With trembling fingers, I began to upload everything I had. The raw audio of the Starlight Protocol signal, the terrifying video of the Devourer, Eris's research, my own notes, and the partial schematics of the counterweapon. I wrote a desperate, urgent message explaining everything: the signal, the Devourer, the observers, the Starlight Protocol, Agent Thorne, and Eris's sacrifice. I detailed the conspiracy, the forced ignorance, the existential threat humanity faced. I uploaded it all to multiple anonymous servers, to encrypted torrents, to underground forums, to anyone and everyone who might be listening. I used every trick I knew, every backdoor, every proxy, praying that it would be enough to evade their immediate digital dragnet. It was a beacon cast into the digital ocean, a desperate plea for humanity to wake up. As the last byte uploaded, my laptop screen flickered and died. The battery was gone. I slumped back against the cold rock, utterly drained. I had done it. I had released the truth. Now, it was up to the world. Hours later, the sun was fully risen, bathing the desert in harsh light. I could hear the distant thrum of rotor blades. A black helicopter, its distinctive silhouette ominous against the bright sky, was methodically sweeping the ridges. They were coming for me. But as the helicopter grew closer, I pulled out my phone. Miraculously, it still had a sliver of battery, and saw a single new notification. It was from one of the forums where I had uploaded the data. Not a message of ridicule, but a torrent of responses. Questions. Disbelief, yes, but also fear. And most importantly, sharing. The file was already being downloaded, mirrored, analyzed by thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands of people around the globe. A small, defiant smile touched my lips. The truth was out. It couldn't be put back in the box. The Starlight Protocol, the one designed to keep humanity ignorant, had been shattered by a simple stargazer and a brave astrophysicist. The helicopter was directly overhead now, descending slowly. I could see the faces of the armed men inside, Thorn among them, his expression a mask of fury. They had found me, but it no longer mattered. I stood up, facing the approaching helicopter, the desert wind whipping my hair. I closed my eyes for a moment, picturing the vast, beautiful, terrifying cosmos. Humanity now had a choice, to hide in blissful ignorance or to face the devourer armed with the impossible hope of the observer's knowledge. My part was done. The cosmic whisper had become a global shout, and whatever came next, humanity would face it with eyes wide open. The Starlight Protocol was broken, the truth was free, and the real fight was just beginning.